We're going to be talking about growing a backbone today. I do a lot of trainings on the how to. So we do trainings on scripts, role playing, how to get clients, how to set up campaigns, a lot of that stuff. But at the end of the day, the truth is if you don't really believe in what it is that you're doing, you are going to have trouble in this business. You really have to believe in it. And so today, really what I wanted to talk about just for a little bit this morning during our live stream was really just growing a backbone, helping build your confidence in what you're doing if you are pursuing this business as a real estate investor, as a real estate wholesaler, and building your own business around whatever it is that you're currently doing, your traditional 9 to 5. So I'm going to give it a little bit more time just to get people on board, just to let them get some alerts. If by chance you catch me looking up, it's because I have dual screen monitors and I have one monitor that's vertical. So I'm reading the comments and I'm reading some of the questions that they are asking me. Now, if there's anything that you would like to have covered during any one of these live streams, please send me a direct message and shoot me a question about what it is that you would like covered. The truth is, if you're thinking it, if you're having a struggle, if there's something that you need help with, then there's probably somebody else that needs help with it too. And I would love to cover it during the live sessions, as long as it's not deal specific, right? If it's deal specific, then we're probably going to want to cover that individually on our own, so that it doesn't jeopardize anybody trying to circumvent you and going out there to get your client, your seller, or your buyer, whatever it might be. So going back to what I said earlier, there's a lot of training videos out there on on the scripts and on cold calling, and people live stream themselves doing these things. And so yeah, I could do those things too, and I do those things as well. But one of the biggest things that we really need to cover again is building your confidence about what it is that you are doing. You operate from a very different perspective when you have confidence in what it is that you are doing. So it's important that you grow a backbone, build a backbone, stand up straight, chest out, right? Have a spine. These are all the different phrases that I Googled real quick as I was developing this. So I'll sit tight for just a little bit more, and then we'll get started on the slides. I'm checking the comments right now. So if you don't know who we are the Dispo Dragons. And if you don't know anything about my background, I have been a real estate agent since I was 18. I got my broker's license 18 years ago. So it's 30 years as an agent, 18 years as a broker, 15 years as a flipper between me and my partners, and then 6 years as a real estate wholesaler. So one of the advantages that I do have is that I do understand the contractual language, because that was one of the, as a real estate agent and as a broker, that was something that I did specialize in. So for those of you who are just tuning in, if you have any questions about any contracts, if you need help with understanding the contracts, if you need help with understanding certain terms, especially like the sub-2 contracts or the seller financing contracts, feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about the contract, and it could be something that, again, that I could cover during these live stream videos. All right. It's 10:03, so I'm going to get started. Let's talk about, growing a backbone in this business. Now, number one, why is this not moving? Okay, so I posted something earlier today, and I cringe when I hear people call themselves wholesalers, right? Especially when I see them do this like on their social media profiles, especially on something like LinkedIn, which is like a professional social media site. Obviously, it's like an online resume, right? And so I can't imagine that you would ever on a resume call yourself a wholesaler, and yet there are a bunch of people on all of their social media, they call themselves wholesalers, okay? Not that the name has a negative connotation, it's just that that's not necessarily the only thing that we do, and by labeling yourself a wholesaler, you are minimizing the value that you are bringing to the marketplace. Wholesaling just happens to be one of your exit strategies. You are an investor first, and I put this in there because Warren Buffett doesn't just call himself a stock picker, right? He's way more than a stock picker. He is a investor. He's a massively successful investor because he is good at identifying opportunities. You are an investor because you are good. You are excellent at identifying opportunities. Now, what those exit strategies with those opportunities are is going to vary per deal. It's going to vary on a case-by-case basis in the same way that Warren Buffett's exit strategy when he buys stocks and companies, right? His exit strategy is going to be very different. You're the same thing. So, it bothers me when I see people, label themselves as wholesalers and they call themselves, you're an investor. Wholesaling just happens to be one of the exit strategies that you use. I keep saying that over and over again because I want you to be confident and feel confident about what you do and what you say. You do, sorry. All right. Here's another thing. So I see things on, posts on all over the internet, especially realtors. Okay, so now here's the thing. So I'm a broker and as a realtor and as an agent, right? You see a lot of agents who dislike wholesaling. And a part of the challenge is because a lot of those real estate agents don't necessarily understand wholesaling as it is. They don't really understanding investing as it is. It's pretty sad, okay? It is pretty sad that a lot of real estate agents are good agents. They're good at selling. They're good at making commissions, but they're not necessarily good at investing. All right. In fact, I don't know what the statistic is, but there's a whole bunch of real estate agents that don't even own real estate. Okay. So, which, is mind boggling because how could you be a real estate agent without owning real estate and, being able to walk someone through a process that you haven't been through personally, but whatever. It is what it is. So a lot of real estate agents don't understand investing, let alone the wholesaling process. And so it's just been this message down the lane of like, oh, wholesalers are bad, and they like to use this term called equity thief, etc., etc., etc. So why am I even covering this? Because again, I want to build your confidence in what you're doing. I want you to have a spine. I want you to have a backbone. I want you to be chest out. I want you to have some type of personal integrity with what you're doing. If you were to go to someone's, yard sale, and they gave you a box of basketball cards, a big old shoebox full of basketball cards. And in that shoebox, there was 300, 400, 500 basketball cards, and you're sorting through them, and they're only selling it by the box. And inside the box is this Fleer 1986 Michael Jordan rookie basketball card, which, by the way, happens to be worth $300,000. If that card was located in that box and it's shuffled all in the cards, and you're just going through it, and you happen to pull it out, and you take a look at it and you understand the value of that card, and those people who are holding that yard sale sell you that property, see where my mind goes? Sell you that box of basketball cards for $150. Now you understand the value of that card and you give them the $100 that they're looking for. This basketball card is valued at anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000. Are you an equity thief for purchasing that basketball card that was located in a shoebox full of basketball cards? And I'm waiting to see some of the responses online. No, you're not a thief. You're not an equity thief. You didn't do anything wrong. You just happened to be someone that found an opportunity. You recognized the value in the opportunity. You purchased it. They were selling it. They had an interest in selling it, and you purchased it, and now you're going to be able to decide what you want to do with it. Now you have to decide what is your exit strategy going to be with this card. Are you going to resell the card? Are you going to hold on to the card and just let it build up more valuable? Are you going to leave the card for your heirs? Are you going to put the card on your wall? What are you going to do with the card, right? You're an investor with multiple exit strategies. It's the same principle here. So I personally take offense when I see real estate agents calling, real estate investors equity thieves, right? And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. Sometimes I can't blame them because they play that message down the lane so often that they're constantly repeating it to each other. And it's the same people repeating it to each other who don't own real estate themselves. And I can say this because I am a real estate agent and a broker. So I know this already. So look, I'm just doing this because, again, I want you to feel confident about what it is that you're doing. Let's move on. All right, I need you to withhold disbelief and suspend all doubt, okay? There are already people making money doing this as real estate investors, as real estate, again, Don't call yourself a wholesaler, but using wholesaling as a strategy. People are already doing this. This is happening, whether you believe it's happening or whether you don't believe it's happening, whether you understand it or whether you don't understand it, right? I don't fully understand how electricity works, but when I flip my light switch on, the light bulbs go off and I have light in my home. I have absolutely no idea how it works. I just know that it works. There are people that have already built very, very, very successful real estate investment firms, very successful real estate investment firms that use, again, wholesaling as a strategy, buying property subject to as a strategy, buying properties using seller financing as a strategy. They've built sales teams within their businesses. They've built virtual assistants that do things for them that they can delegate to them. This is already happening with or without you. So it's not a question of does this work? It's more a question of, will it work for you, and will you be willing to put in the effort that it requires in order to master the skills to get the same results that those people are getting. Period. End of story, which brings me to my next slide. Okay? Stop comparing yourself to what everybody else is doing. All right? You're trying to compare, especially if you're brand spanking new, you're trying to compare your day one to somebody else's, year 10. And it's not going to happen overnight. In fact, it never happens overnight. So all of these videos that you're watching and all these TikToks and all these, shorts, YouTube shorts and Instagram reels where you're seeing people and they're showing you, how I made $20,000 this week by just typing in an address on buyboxwizards.com or whatever and typing it in, and I made it in 2 weeks, and that doesn't happen. Okay? Can it happen? Sure. Has it happened? Absolutely. Do people do it? Absolutely. Does it happen every day? Probably not. Okay? It's going to take a little bit more effort. And so when you're comparing yourself to the people who have been doing this for a while, to the people who understand this business, like the back of their hand, and then they know how to use every possible strategy to their disposal, then you're gonna get frustrated. Okay, it takes time to learn this business. Stop comparing where you're at versus somebody else. Just take the time to learn whatever whatever you need to learn. Which means that for many of you, you're going to have to try to find a joint venture partner or a mentor or somebody that is going to work with you in this process. Give me 1 second. Let me put my phone on vibrate or it won't stop. I should have done that before the live stream. I apologize. So, don't compare yourself. All right. Next slide. Respect the profession. Okay, again, I'm going to call this a profession. This is a profession. You are an investor, a profession. Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate the comments. This is a profession. If you treat it like a side gig, if you treat it like a side hustle, if you treat it like a side chick, if you treat it like a side chuck, whatever you want to call it, it's going to respect you back the same way. You have to respect the profession. So what that means is that if you don't have success in 2 weeks, if you don't have success in 2 months, people are complaining that the business doesn't work. In any other type of profession, whatever it might be, whatever profession it is, it takes years of mastery, years of education, paid education. You pay to get yourself educated in other professions. And then you go out there and then you try to find a job or you're trying to find an employer to hire you. But for some reason, people get involved in this business, and it boggles my mind. After 2 weeks, they haven't gotten a check for $10,000 and they say it's a scam. They say that the person that's doing this scammed them. They say that the course that they may have purchased is a lie. They say that the techniques that these people are using don't work. Respect the profession enough to give it enough time so that you can actually master the skills. And here's the crazy part. Most educations are going to cost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in education fees. And for whatever reason, people seem to think that they can get involved in a multi-trillion-dollar industry, which is real estate. They think they can get by without having to invest any type of money in the education, and they think that that's going to make them money. And then later on, they're frustrated by the results that they have. Like, it's difficult for me to have sympathy for people that are constantly trying to skirt around investing money in themselves to learn this business or to learn this profession. So again, give it respect, give it the time and the attention that it deserves. I don't know if you guys caught that. right? I thought that was pretty smooth. It's your side chick or your side chuck. Yeah, cool. All right, anyway. All right, next one. Shiny object syndrome. So here's another thing that I see people do all the time. They bounce from one strategy to the next. Today, they're cold calling. Tomorrow, they're texting. The next day, they're sending messages through DMs on Facebook or on Instagram or on Craigslist to seller. The next day, they're door knocking. The next day, they're doing driving for dollars. Then they're trying to do mailers. They're trying to do postcards. Oh, and don't forget about bandit signs. Oh, and now they're doing PPC. They're trying to run their ads. Oh, and now they've decided that they want to purchase leads. So they're using PPL companies, pay per lead companies. And so every day they're doing something different. This is another mistake that people make. Before you start jumping ship and you start trying to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, just pick one. Just pick one strategy. Just pick one strategy that you are going to commit to for at least an hour to 2 hours minimum per day for the next 90 days minimum. Every single day, 1 to 2 hours per day minimum for the next 90 days, and master it. Master that thing. Right? I use the phrase till the wheels fall off. You master it till you know it. Stop giving up on something just because you're not seeing results right away. Give it the time that it deserves until you actually know how to use that strategy like the back of your hand. And shiny object syndrome doesn't only apply to like strategies, it also applies to markets. People switch markets like they switch underwear. Like, if pick the market that you're going to be working and then commit to that market until you really understand the ebbs and flows of that market, until you really understand the values of the properties in those markets, until you really understand what a potential ARV for your average bread and butter 3-bed 2-bath 1,500 square foot home is going to be. You should be able to spit these values off the top of your head based on the markets that you're focusing in, because you've been doing it so long and you've been working that area so long. That's the thing. There's experts in this market or in this profession. They know those numbers. They know the average repaired value. They have an idea of how much it's going to cost to repair a property, and they can spit those numbers off the top of your head. But a lot of people get in and they're working one market, then they're working another market, then they're working another market, and then they're saying this business doesn't work. What's because you haven't, again, given it enough time to really settle in and know what those values are so that you can identify a real deal when it crosses your lap. All right, next slide. What do we do? Okay, so I said this earlier, but it bears repeating. We identify opportunities for real estate investors. And when we say investors, that includes yourself. You are a real estate investor. Now, I know that there's some people that are looking at this and they're saying, well, I don't have any capital right now to invest. No problem. Then find yourself a joint venture partner. Find yourself a mentor. Find yourself a hard money lender. Find yourself a bridge lender. Find yourself a gator lender. I know Nikki was on this call just a short while ago, and on Instagram I see her handle. Her handle is Shante Ricard 07. She is an excellent a hard money, like not hard, actually EMD lender, gator lender, hard money. In fact, I actually wrote about Nikki in my book. She is on there. Oh, hard money broker. Thanks, Nikki. So she's in there. So you're more than welcome to reach out to her. But there's money out there. There's resources out there. You just haven't tapped into them. So we identify opportunities for real estate investors. For investors, you are an investor. That's what we do. We identify opportunities. Now, I think this is important too. When you're talking to people, when you're talking to sellers, all right, people might be in difficult situations. They might find themselves in situations where they're under some type of distress, whatever that distress might be. That distress could be code violations, it could be tax liens, it could be foreclosures, it could be divorce, it could be probate, whatever it might be. They could have a property that they've inherited that just is too much work for them or is too far for them. They don't want to go over there. So whatever that might be, I need you to understand that you're not the only solution. All right. There's plenty of solutions out there. And I think that sometimes people get involved in this business, again, with good intentions. And then they go and they talk to a seller. And the seller, tells them that they don't want to work with them for whatever reason. They're not interested in what it is that you have to offer. And then you take offense to it. And then again, you say that the business doesn't work. Let's get this straight. You're not the solution to everyone's problems. You're just not, okay? And neither am I. So you want to stop taking offense to the fact that people don't appreciate what it is that you're offering. Okay, it has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with the fact that they may not see you as a possible solution, not right now. Stop taking such personal offense to it. Okay, we have a saying in sales, right? Some will, some won't. So what? Next. Okay. Just keep that in mind, because a lot of times people go in and they're talking to someone who is clearly they're in distress. They're in distress, okay? I mean, I've been in hoarding houses where we're talking to a seller and the poor poor woman can't even really move around. She can't move around the entire house. And it's not a safe environment for her. It's a health hazard for her. And we know that we could probably help her out of that situation. And yet, she still might not take advantage of what it is that we have to offer. It's okay. Right? It's just a part of the business. Just understand that. Stop using that as leverage to support your theory that this doesn't work. Okay? You're not the only solution, and some people won't take they won't take you on they won't take your offer for their solution. That one got a little sticky. Anyway, all right. So why do we do this? All right, home sellers need us. This is important. All right. I know that it sounds crazy, right? You say, well, why would a home seller need us? See, and again, that goes back to the mindset shift. A lot of times you're going in there thinking, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to get the lowest price possible. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to try to sell it. Here's the thing. You have value in the marketplace. You just have to identify what that value is, and you have to shift your mindset. Not all homes are going to qualify for traditional financing. That's why we do this. There are some homes, right, that for whatever reason the seller hasn't been able to keep up with the maintenance or the repairs. So they have, damage, okay? In some cases, a bank won't finance a property just because it doesn't have a water heater, or because there's chip paint, or because there's visible damage to the roof, and these things need to be repaired prior to even putting it on the market. So traditional financing doesn't work for all properties. That's why there is a opportunity for us in this marketplace, number one. Number two, we offer creative solutions. Okay, there are plenty of other creative solutions that you could implement into your toolbox if you know how to do it. So for instance, if you do subject to financing, okay, I have seen plenty of properties that have been sitting on the market 90, 120 days, 150 days or more, where a seller is trying to sell the property. They need to sell the property for whatever reason. They've purchased it a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years ago. They have very little equity in the property, and they have a mortgage on the property. That is a perfect example of how you could actually come in, purchase the property subject to the existing mortgage, put some safeguards in place so that both parties are protected. I'm not going to cover them now. And then everybody wins, and the seller doesn't have to pay to actually close that transaction. I've seen transactions where a seller has to come. In fact, we're involved in one where a seller, unbeknownst to us, owed way more on the property than they even disclosed to us, and they're having to come to the closing table with about $60,000 to be able to sell the property. Right? I didn't even know that the loan was there until the title company brought it to our attention, and the seller didn't tell us. But my point is that when they have very little equity or even negative equity, then the seller has to come to pay to be able to sell the property. With the subject to, the seller can walk away, you take over the existing mortgage, you make the monthly payments, and you're actually helping build their credit. So there's a lot of creative solutions that we could bring to the table that on a traditional sale or on the MLS or in the traditional marketplace, you won't see that. Some sellers can't afford or do not want to afford to make the repairs. Some sellers don't want people coming in their homes, right? So just keep that in mind too, because a lot of times people will say, well, why would they use you? Why couldn't they just use a realtor? A realtor could do the exact same thing. Well, sometimes they don't want to use a realtor, right? Sometimes they don't want people coming into their house. Sometimes they don't want to have open houses. Sometimes they don't want to use an agent. Or sometimes, believe it or not, you've got a seller that has multiple people in their family that are real estate agents, and so they can't decide between the two that they want to use or the three that they want to use, and they just decide, well, we'll just use somebody else, or we'll use a different strategy to get our home sold. And I've heard that as well too. So all types of things happen. Now, another reason is a guaranteed fast cash close. That's one of the options. It's one of the alternatives. Now, here's the deal. When you are negotiating, though, that means that you have to negotiate to get the property at a price that you 1,000% can close that deal on. Very, very important that you aim or set that goal to make sure that you, when you make an offer, that you make it at a price that you are going to be able to perform on no matter what. All right. Does that mean that you're going to be able to do it every single time? No. Nobody bats 1,000%, but you want to at least negotiate it at a price that you know that either you yourself or your JV partner or your mentor or with a hard money lender or with a gator lender, you can close this deal on. All right. Investors need us. Okay, so I just covered why sellers need us, right? Again, are we the end solution to everything? No. Right? We're not. But is there a market for us? Is there a need for us in the marketplace for sellers? Absolutely. Right? We satisfy a need. Why do investors need us? Well, number one, a lot of investors don't want to spend the time identifying opportunities. They want to spend time doing what it is that they're good at. They are good at either their fix and flipping. They are good at doing their buy and holds. They are good at building their rental portfolio. They are good at, even their 9 to 5. There's a lot of real estate thank you, Nikki. There's a lot of real estate investors that have traditional day jobs, right? 9 to 5s, and they don't have time to look for the opportunities, but they like investing in real estate. They have a real estate portfolio, and so we can bridge the gap between the seller and the investor and bring them these opportunities, okay? Or they just feel like they make more money doing whatever it is that they're doing, right? If they do their fix and flips, and that's really what makes them the most money, then they'd rather spend their time doing the fix and flips as opposed to building a wholesaling business, a real estate investing business, okay? They don't want to be distracted. And let's be real here. They don't want to be some investors don't want to be talking to sellers all day long. It's just not their cup of tea, right? It's not their vibe, okay? So they don't want to do that. They don't want to be talking to people all day long. They don't want to be going through rejection. They just don't want it. They just rather have someone that can bring them a nice, shiny opportunity on a silver platter with them. And yeah, if we can put our assignment fee on top and they still make money, they're happy with it, okay? So you got sellers that need us and you've got investors that need us as well. All right. I love this part. Why do neighbors need us? Okay. If you have a neighbor that has a property that's right next door and it's in a dilapidated condition, it's in bad condition, let's say it has fire damage, it looks bad, it smells bad, it brings the values down, okay? But more importantly, for safety purposes, okay? You've got the potential for squatters to come in there to do things that you don't want them to do. You got the potential for danger for other children in the neighborhood. There's all types of safety issues that come up when you've got a property like that right next door to you, okay? So we help the community, we help the neighbors, we provide safety. We increase property values, okay? When you repair a house and you bring up the property values, your neighbors love you. Nobody wants to live next to a beat-up old house. We're making difference in communities. Now, I'm not going to get into this whole debate over gentrification. I'm not going to do that, okay? And I'm going to share a little secret with everybody, okay? I wrote about this in my book. So I grew up in a community in Los Angeles during the 80s. It was called Highland Park. It's part of the Northeast Los Angeles community. And during the 80s and during the 90s, Highland Park was, a gang territory. All right, there were a lot of gang members. My father, who was a grocer, his whole life he worked as a graveyard manager for a grocery chain over in Los Angeles, decided that he wanted to venture out as an entrepreneur, start his own meat market. In Spanish we call it carniceria, and he did it in Highland Park, okay? And unfortunately, back in the 90s, he was gunned down while one gang was shooting another gang, and he just happened to be at the wrong place at the right time, and he was murdered. So for those of you that want to debate with me about how, improving communities, repairing houses, raising values, gentrification doesn't have an impact on other people's lives, you're wrong, and you will lose that argument with me every single time. Because had that neighborhood been a little bit safer, and had, we had gotten rid of any of those gang members, my father might still be here today. All right, so hey guys, okay, I'm just looking at the comments. Sorry about that. So we'll move on. Actually, that was it. That was my last slide for today. So not bad. So it's 10:30. We started at 10:05. If you don't know, I have committed to doing this on a daily basis. So at least once a day, I'm going to hop on live, and I'm going to cover, I use this format because it just helps me, with my thoughts to keep them clear and organized. So there's a slide portion, and then there's the video portion of me. If you have any questions that you need covered, feel free to DM me, and I'll work on covering these questions during the next live. I don't want to be just like everybody else, so most of my lives aren't going to be me cold calling and talking to sellers. But if people need if you need role-playing sessions or anything like that, let me know, and I'll try to cover that stuff. Typically, Carlos, it's going to be anywhere between 9 to 10 a.m. is when I will start. I wish I could tell you an actual designated time, but I'm typically between 9 to 10 is when we'll cover them. Yeah, we can cover some of the NAR docs, sure. We can cover that. Yeah. All right. So last thing, and I always plug this, and you're going to have to forgive me, but if you haven't purchased my book yet, it is on Amazon. It's called Deal Like a Dove, Dispo Like a Dragon. Deal Like a Dove, Dispo Like a Dragon. 400 pages of no nonsense. How to build this business. I don't pull any punches. I tell you exactly what you need to do. You can purchase it on Amazon. If you purchase it on Amazon and you take a picture with it and you shoot me the picture with yourself holding the book, I will give you a free Audible code that you can use to download the Audible version for free, as well as my gift to you, as my thank you for purchasing the book. Okay. All right. Hey, June. I am going to be sounding off. Thanks for participating, you guys. Anything you need, feel free to reach out to me. If you have any deals that you need a second set of eyes on, let me know. We're looking at opportunities and at deals all day long. I mean, we're comping deals all day long. This is really what we do. If you find yourself in a deal where you need some help, okay, so if you need some help, renegotiating terms, right? Let's say you found yourself in a contract and you may have overpaid for it, or your offer was a little too high and you're realizing this. Let me know. We can discuss a strategy at how we can go about renegotiating it. That's what we do too. If you have deals that you need help getting sold, let me know. We can blast them out to all of our VIP buyers that are out there. We've built a nice little book of buyers that really count on us to bring them deals. Some of them are fix and flip buyers. Some of them are buy and hold buyers. Yes, we have the hedge fund buyers. I know that's a big thing in social media right now, where a lot of people are talking about the hedge fund buyers. I want to be very, very clear. The hedge fund buyers are still buying, but they are very, very strict about what it is that they are looking for. I would venture to say that, 75 to 90% of the stuff that you bring to them, it will probably not qualify. There's a small 10% that fit within their box and within their parameter, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but just understand that if you're going to go that route, you're limiting your buyer net, your buyer pool, to a very strict and stringent buy box, which is great because at least they know what their buy box guidelines is, and if those properties fit those guidelines, fantastic, right? But you really want to develop other strategies on how to learn to build your own buyer database so that you can sell your deals to them. And if you do come across something that meets the criteria of these hedge funds, fantastic. Have at it. Send it over to them. All right. So we have those buyers as well. So if you have a deal, keep us in mind. Let us know. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to cover them tomorrow. I'll go live somewhere between 9 and 10 every day. And occasionally I'll go live again in the evening too. All right. Have a great day.